You know, we're in a situation, the whole country is. Our nation is spending more on education than it's ever done in history. Our families are homeschooling more now than they've ever done in history. We're falling behind nations. Our nation is falling behind in education of the world. The third world countries, education. Money's not going to be the problem here. It's something else and nobody has an answer. If it was money, we could all pitch in and make it better. But we have kids hardly can write their name by going out of high school. I was one of those kids. I tried basketball. Shame that nobody took the time to teach me on a level, my level, instead of these kids up here. And we have the same problem today. We've got kids here that are falling behind so bad. These smart kids are going up, but hey, our state says no kids left behind. They push them right on. Are you going to hire one of those kids that's not educated on your business? No. Nobody is. That's the hurt our nation, our kids, that's not being taught on their level, on their time, to go out and protect the flag and earn a living. I don't know who's got the answer. God knows. But we have a lot of children. Okay. And if they're falling behind that far, they'll send them over maybe at the lift of the academy, where the mean kids are. But that's not the problem. These kids can learn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
There is and has been that type of disparity in our schools. It's better than it used to be, but it could be a lot better than it is. Yes,
yes, Mr. Church. Point Mr. McMahon made. The schools are losing students. Why? Why are they losing students? Or is it because families moving out of the county, or are they just going to Elizabethton because they have better educational opportunity, or why are they losing students? Okay. Okay. Okay, thank you.
I think on average about 100 per year, maybe a little bit more, a little bit less, over the last 2.5 years is what our trend has been. Most recently, without a doubt, we've had a lot of people who have moved out of this area to get jobs because we have regular requests come to the office from other places. The homeschooling, as Mr. Miller has alluded to, that's probably the second reason. And we have had a percentage more take the free tuition or advantage of the tuition reduction at Elizabethton City Schools. Now, how many would that be? We don't know. It's not a large number that's going to the city because they can't absorb much more, but those first two are probably the primary. And the homeschooling, we estimate, to keep growing. So, there is a plan right now that Dr. Ellis and I think some of her secondary supervisors have a plan, and some of the others are working, trying to develop a plan to put homeschool in with Carter County Schools, so that if we have a kid that's going to do homeschool, they will put it with us and we'll get some of the big numbers. Dr. Ellis, would you want to elaborate a little bit on that? Is there any more to say?
Mr. McClain is pursuing an online education program through the Carter County School System, which means that hopefully we will be starting with about 20 students next year, and those students will pay to take online courses through our school system. thing about that is that we will still receive the same amount of payment for those students. We won't lose them to the city of Elizabethton. They'll remain in the Carter County school system. In addition to the ways that Dr. Ward told me that we are losing those approximately 100 students per year is that there is a K-12 online program in Union County, and it was opened up to the Tennessee Department of Education for any student in the state that wanted to enroll in it. And we lost, I'm going to say, approximately 10 students to that online. They stay at home, they take their courses on their computer. I don't see any way to stop that other than the plan that Mr. McLean is developing. If we get 20 students for our program that he's planning the first year, we may open it up to some more students the next year. Or it may fall on the wayside according to how successful it will be. But we're hoping it will be successful because we know we are losing students to online education and we're losing money.
Okay, I've got one more. Secretary.
You know, in this study, one thing we're trying to look at is flexibility on methods of educating students. Because as technology changes, we have to change with it. Students learn today in a different way than they did when I was in school, a lot different. And so what we're trying to look at in part of our discussion and trying to gather data is what is the future of education going to look like in 20 years? So that maybe we can do something in Carter County schools that will help us to prevent the loss or help us to better educate students. Basically, it's not as important about how many we lose as those students who are in Carter County getting the best education possible. So that's what we're trying to do. And we have to look at different ways, like distance learning and things like that. You know, we have to look at all different methods that we can instruct kids or to give them the best possible education. Did you realize through distance learning, we can take students, a classroom of students, anywhere in the world, and help them to see what that's like through cameras and so forth. I like to use the example of Mandarin Chinese. We have Mandarin Chinese, which few school systems do teach that. And you do realize that is the most spoken language in the world. Now, if say you have a class of Mandarin Chinese or German or Korean or whatever, you can actually partner with a school in those countries and you can hear the students speak Mandarin Chinese as their native tongue. I was in Korea back in the early 70s, and one thing about in Korea, they like for their people there to speak to Americans because all their students taught English, but you certainly couldn't understand their English. So they wanted to talk to us so they could better understand how to say the words the way the Americans did. I could write anything to them and understand what they were writing, but as far as being able to talk to them, I couldn't. So I think that type of thing is important. If you're going to have a student that's going to be working in France and they want to take French, it is good for them to be able to speak to a native speaking French person. So I just want to throw that out. We're looking at different methods of how to best educate the students. Okay?
Yeah, I got one more thing for Dr. Ward, maybe he can. Mr. McMahon, he said, it don't seem like it, 21 years ago that's how old this school is, it's 21 years old. How many students was here 21 years ago, and how many do they have here now?
Students, 21 years ago, at one time back in, this is after we opened for a few years, I think we peaked out somewhere around 740.
740?
Yeah.
And how many you got right now?
Okay, now the school was built to populate 650. And right now, Mr. Campbell, we have a number that's totaling somewhere in the neighborhood of 690. We're right below 700 now. So enrollment has dropped about 40. Now there's one thing that Dr. Dr. Ellis had mentioned, the school in Union County, that's a charter school. That's a business for profit school. I don't think we have begun to see the full competition from those type of schools. Now that we have the government that's in national that's really pushing for the charter schools, and both sides of the House and Senate now have control, we probably will see more charter schools that's going to come into the area. We just have to wait to see. Of course, that's competition. You know, they're competing for those state dollars.
Sure.
So,
Well, thank you.
Well, these meetings have been advertised in the paper, on the radio, or
Newspaper.
what paper was it in? What newspaper was it in?
Star, we put out advertisements.
What date was it? I don't recall seeing it.
Now, we had Mr. Campbell and Mr. Bradley did one call. Of course, one call was an announcement that telephone systems will make out each one of the parents' house. That's one of the ways we try to get the word out there. I think it's in the paper some.
And each time that we've had a meeting, Mr. Mullins has always included the next meeting in the paper. That's all we did. We did have each one of the schools, here and at the high school, do one call, so that everybody who was at least had a child in school did know.
Okay, I got one more question. Would it be possible to replace these paraprofessionals with volunteers?
I didn't hear the question.
Would it be possible to replace paraprofessionals with volunteers?
That's one of the problems is with volunteers are every day. Any volunteer that works in close proximity to students would also have to pass a background check. Which they, they do. I'm not saying there's a problem with that. But our paraprofessionals, a lot of them, the majority of them have several years' experience, and they've had some training, some workshops that have been provided for them on how to work with children, how to teach some reading skills, some of the math concepts. So it would, if you said all volunteers, it would take us several years to get those people up to the same level as our paraprofessionals are. But we use a lot of volunteers in the schools. A lot.
Thank you.
I'm glad to get them.
Yeah, we've got, we understood you say there's right at 700 students here, is that correct? How many teachers do you have here?
This is how many teachers we have in this building? 49.
Okay, how many aides do you have?
How many aides?
Around 30. Do you know what your total employment here is? Total employment. Okay. This gentleman right here, I think he had a good point and hit everything on the nail. Anyway, I think this gentleman hit the nail on the head right here. Money don't seem to be the answer to what's going on here. And it seems like every time that something comes up, the school system wants more money. And I believe you just put a 0.5% sale tax just in 210 and raised it. And there's been mention now of a wheel tax. And I don't understand, do you all give any kind of a financial report or anything at any point in time?
As far as this committee or this team is concerned, no, we haven't done anything.
Yeah, but I mean, the school system in the whole, do they give any type of financial report to the taxpayers of this county?
Of course, you know, we've got the yearly audits. The auditors are in here in the finance department, school finances. Every year, right around now, of course, we haven't done it yet, but here in the next week or so, Dr. Ellis and her supervisors, the bookkeeper, will be going to the county court. We'll meet with the educational committee, we'll be meeting with the budget committee. And as we work on our new budget, you know, it'll give you an idea of what the finances of, you know, Carter County School is. So, and that's a record anytime that you know, go in and ask for that. It's available.
I don't think that was the question. I asked, did you give any type of financial report, like quarterly or? No. No? In other words, the taxpayers has no idea of what you have in your finances.
Well, I think
over that period of time.
When we have the yearly budget talks, I think, you know, the taxpayers has a clear understanding of what's in the finances, because at that time there's a full report given. And then when that report's given, it's also, like this year, it's going to show where the deficits and the expenses have increased and where the revenues has decreased.
In other words, this is annual, is what you're saying.
What now?
This is an annual report, and that's it.
Yes, it's going to be, you know, it's every year about April, about the same time.
Okay. What about your half a cent sales tax and stuff? Do you have any numbers on that yearly, what it brings in?
The half cent, right now, in the company that we're in, is bringing in somewhere around $700,000. Now, that money was earmarked and designated strictly for an account that was set up for capital improvements. Now, as you look around, there's windows going in schools, there's bathrooms being renovated, updates, there's roofs. The roofs is going on this school this summer, Happy Valley Middle School this summer, Central Elementary, windows this summer. All that comes from the referendum money. Now, like Mr. Holder just alluded to, you know, on a monthly basis, the Carter County Finance Director gives our board an updated presentation or an updated awareness of what the finances are. Ingrid will pass that out every board meeting, so that's something done.
Well, here seems to be the problem. Anything the citizens wants to go get a copy of or something, they want to charge you. We've already paid for it once through our tax dollars. And then you come back and they want to charge them again. And they put a price on it that tries to discourage whoever wants the paperwork from getting it paid. I mean, you know, most people work for a living. And there's a price on this. We already paid for it once. Why do we have to pay for it again?
I'm not sure that's not the school board, is it?
Huh?
That's not at the school board you're being charged for, is it?
Well, I don't think anybody's done anything to school board license.
Well, a lot of our finances are in the courthouse and managed for their work.
Right. I understand.
I
In other words, does the school board charge? Maybe that'd be the question.
don't know that we've ever selected time for anybody to come in and get any kind of information.
All right, thank you for that answer. You know, this lottery, you have any idea what comes in per year for the lottery? That's supposed to be designated for the schools, is it not?
Well, let Mr. Holder answer that question, because I think you're going to be surprised.
I got the same question like kind of cloud. And what a lot of people don't know and they didn't understand when they voted for this lottery, back then, I would talk to people and I would discourage them from voting for the lottery. Not that I was against the lottery, I was all for it. But all the money from the lottery was, they had a constitutional amendment to fund that lottery, which we in Tennessee, that's why we had to vote on the lottery. But it was earmarked for higher education. There was no funds state legislators at that time, and one of them especially said, well, after we get price, we'll give some to the K through 12. I said, sir, you can't do that. It's a constitutional amendment. The only way that K through 12 can get lottery money is for the state legislature and our representatives to pass another constitutional amendment, which would have to be ratified by the population, or they could give that money. Now, they did say, if we have any left, we'll give some to private public education. Now, except for, I think they did give some to pre-K, did they not? But other than that, we are not allowed to use any of that lottery money. That would be a great thing to do, and there's plenty of it. But we were kind of sidewinded on that, because most of the, if you talk to people, Mr. Middleton, before the lottery, I would dare say that 90% of them didn't realize that K through 12 was not going to be the seat. If they had, I don't think they would have voted for it. Most people had. And one other thing I'd like to mention, Mr. Middleton, you asked about our expenditures and our budget. We plan on having a PowerPoint presentation to the county commission about our needs and where we have to make some massive cuts this year. We're going to give out an item-by-item PowerPoint for the county commission, and I know that you come to a lot of the commission meetings. And if you're interested, I think it'd be very educational, because you can watch, you can see that and see exactly where the money is going, where we're making the cuts and why we're having that. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we, one more question. Do we have a beer tax here? Does it go to the schools?
Beer tax was, years ago, from what I understand, the beer tax was initially obligated to the schools, but it wasn't earmarked, therefore the schools don't get a beer tax.
Another con deal.
I don't think so.
Anyway.
At least I don't know where it's coming from.
Right. That's cool. But I appreciate it. But I want to commend Mr. Holder for one thing right here in front of everybody. That's the only gentleman, when this jail process come up, that objected to it and tried to ask questions, and they shut him up. He's the only one in the school system. The school system could have stopped that jail if they had any intent to. Because Mr. Holder, he said, we need schools. Said, we don't need no jail. And I like to commend him on that. He's the only one in the entire group that said anything about that jail. Now we're sitting down here with a monster, and it's upward right now to 40 million, and there's only 2 floors finished, and they got to tear one of them out to go another floor. It'll take another 50 million to finish that jail. Anybody that knows anything about construction understands this. All the windows in that jail right now that you're looking at when you drive by, there's nothing behind it. Nothing. It's one big hole. And this monster will eat this county. And, you know, I understand that, like I said, Mr. Holder, I want to commend him. He's the only one. And the school board could have stopped it. They had enough people on that county commission. They could have raised enough cane and stopped that jail. I've got the copy right here of that jail agreement. They conned us and said it was under a federal court order. Right here's the agreement, and it tells you plainly that it is not court enforceable. The agreement's not. But I want to commend him that he really tried.
I'd like to maybe respond to that a little bit. I think not only the county commission, I think the school board has to take some responsibility for that installation. We tried to bring schools to the floor at that time. I remember different commissioners would stand up and say, we've got 2 schools to build. I'm not going to vote for the jail and clean my kids out. I feel like if the school board had been able to come to a consensus opinion and propose one school, we were asking to propose one school, I believe, with all my heart, that today we'd have a new school built and a new jail, and we wouldn't spend $30 million on it.
I think, sir, you're on the point. Because they could have got both for a whole lot less than they got in this jail right now.
I think the school board is much, if we would have been more aggressive, I think the commission would have went along with it. But we dropped the ball there also.
I think you're right, sir, but like I said, I appreciate your input in it, and I'm sure the rest of the county does when they really know, but you're the man that done the work on it. But I thank you, I appreciate you.
Anyone else? Yes.
Dr. Ward, out of our activities here at Hampton Elementary, tell them that they are full-time on a good benefit.
Probably looking at least two-thirds.
But most of our aides are not good benefits.
Well, more than
Two-thirds.
but two-thirds, and that's one thing that we look at as we work through the budget is the countywide, all the health benefits. And, we'll kind of look at it, we have two hires, and that's coming out,
We'll routinely, as people retire, look at the expenses and see where we can make the adjustments and save the money. It takes 2 or 3 years of doing that, but at least we're saving people's jobs and we can still maintain that practice.
Such as a special ed teacher, they're not paid from our county money, they're federal money.
Federal money, yes.
Head Start aides are not paid from county money, they're paid from federal money. So as really as far as county full-time aides, there's not that many here.
No, it's funded from the general budget. We're looking at Hampton Elementary, there's somewhere, and it's mostly on your wings and they work across over into the cafeteria. Probably, let's see, well, if you count your art day, you're looking at about 6 also.
But, and people don't understand that if we don't have those aides, these kids that are getting left behind, they're gonna get left farther behind, because as a teacher, we can't do it all. If these kids don't get any help at home, we can't do it all at school.
One of the questions